What I got here is I have a broken spring on the garage door. You can see it. Let's see here, right there. And you can see it looks like this spring has already been replaced once because it looks a lot newer than the old one. So the job is to replace that. I'm going to unplug the garage door opener for safety purposes. Now what I'm going to do, detach this, just pull on that, which has already been done. I'm going to attach a vice grip to the rail. Make sure the door doesn't swing up. I'm going to be using 2 tension bars. This is what I've got laying around, and they do fit into the slot. Okay. The slot is going to be right there, and they do fit in there. The tools I'm using is the tension rods and a 9/16 socket. 9/16 socket's going to go over. There's 2 screws on here, and all I'm going to be doing is loosening that. What I'm going to do is put this tension rod in here. I'm going to slowly release or loosen the tension. I'm going to use another tension rod. Pull up. Going to be loosening these 2 bolts right here. My particular setup, it is 7/16, and you see it on both sides. What you're going to do next is these 2 bolts right here, which I believe on mine, again, yours may be different, they're 3/8. So I've already broke those and loosened them up. Kind of swing it to the side. Get a picture of the shot. Right there's the wire. We're just going to unhook that. This is the other side. Just the same thing, loosening this up. The wire drapes over the wheel. Going to be loose. And then I'm going to just unhook it. And I'm going to just drape it around. Loosen the bolts on this one, but this wheel doesn't slide over that well. I don't know if this is just too rusted or whatnot, but so either way, what I'm going to do, I actually pushed the bar that way, got it out from the hole and put it above, and then watch. So I'm going to slightly pull this over, and that's going to fall out. Just very gently. All right, so that is fell out. Take this wheel off. All right, and these bolts go on the inside facing the center. And then I'm going to take the broken spring off very carefully. And we're going to get the second half. So when I started researching about replacing the spring, this is what I found. So if you're standing in the garage looking at the garage door, the spring on the left-hand side would be considered right wound, while the spring on the right-hand side, if you're looking at the garage door, would be considered a left wound spring. The old spring that I took off had a color coding of green, which is the green is to signify the diameter of the actual wire used for this particular spring. Now, green, color code green, if you search on the internet, has a couple of different values. For me, I looked at one of the old springs that was laying around, and it had a number on there, 243 by 32. So if I went to the chart, I saw a color coding of green. It had 0.243, which is going to be the diameter of the actual wire or the coil, and then 32 would symbolize the length of the spring. Now, when purchasing a new spring, I noticed that the left and right wound springs are going to be color coded at the end. So the left spring or the right wound spring will be color coded red, while the right spring or the left wound spring would be color coded black. Of course, on my old spring, it wasn't color coded like that. So I went to the hardware store, and this is a local store, not a big box store, and I found a spring that matched. It was a Hillman spring, model number 852145, and on the package it said wire diameter 0.243, inside diameter is 2 inches, length of the spring was 32 inches, and this would be considered a right wound spring. Here's a screenshot of some additional information that came off the package on how to measure a torsion spring. Just putting the drum back on. Alright, just putting the bar, setting that in, and now I'm going to have to readjust the other side. Before you put the drums on, what I did, and according to the instructions on the box, put a vice grip to hold this bar in place so it doesn't keep on turning on you. And then the wire will be on track when you install the drums. Taking the wire, replacing it back on the drum, putting the drum next to the plate. See if we can get this. And then once that's in place, we're going to wind it, make sure the wire's in the track. And then we'll end up tightening the drum. So I've got a little bit of tension on this cord, not a whole lot, but then I'm going to tighten these two bolts up. Recommendations on the internet, so where it's kind of fairly tight against the pipe, and I'm going to do a half turn. There's a quarter. And we're going to do another quarter, and that should be good. After you get the springs on, push them to the center, then just tighten the two bolts that you have down, and that's going to secure the springs to the center plate. What I'm going to do now is put tension on the spring. According to the instruction, it says 29. I saw some people on the internet do 30, 31. So we're going to go ahead and start this off. Put the tension bar into the hole of the spring, and basically what we're doing is turning it, quarter turn, 2. I've got 30 quarter turns, so I'm going to tighten this down. And now I'm doing the other side. I just wanted to let you know, after you get to the 30th time and you tighten these bolts, you're going to have your bar down here. Just when you put this one in to release the tension, just ease it down, because if for some reason these bolts aren't tightened down enough, it's going to just unspring. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm not going to fill in this part, but I'm going to do 30 quarter turns on this. Okay, so I've gotten these two bolts. I put 30 cranks on the quarter turns on the spring. I've gotten the two bolts tightened down. So what I'm going to do, relieve the tension, so I can get this crank out through this tension bar. And I'm going to just slowly, make sure it doesn't slide. Now that we got the springs installed, I'm going to take the vice grips off the rail. That one. Just making sure we're not connected to the garage door opener. Pull on your thing. Now hopefully we're going to lift this